Hello, and welcome back to the Wisdom Warhammer channel. And today we are going to be going over the life lessons from Ragnar Blackmane. Like in my other life lesson videos, I'll be going over the lore of Ragnar Blackmane and then the lessons we can take from Blackmane. Side note, I do not own any artwork in the video, and all things Warhammer is under the ownership of Games Workshop and Black Library, so go support them. Now let us get into the lore and life lessons of Ragnar Blackmane, shall we? Ragnar was born on Fenris in the Thunderfish tribe, and his father was a strong warrior in the tribe. A year before Ragnar became a man, he, his father, and some tribesmen ferried a wolf priest of the Vilka Fenrika after his Thunderhawk crashed. The priest's name was Rannick Icewalker, but during the boat ride, the boat was attacked by a sea dragon, and Ragnar and his fellow tribesmen were attacked. But after Ragnar hit the dragon in the eye, Rannick drew his bolt gun and killed the dragon, saving the boat. When they arrived at the destination, Ragnar asked if he would see the wolf priest again. Rannick turned to the boy and replied, if they saw each other again, it would be a dark time, and he was right. A year later, after that, Ragnar and his tribe had a feast, so their guard was down, and a rival tribe called the Grimskull snuck in and raided the village. During the battle, Ragnar slaughtered many Grimskulls and caught sight of another Grimskull youth and felt something. The Grimskull was named Strabjorn, and he would eventually become a space wolf like Ragnar, but at the moment they were enemies. When the two armies met at the Great Hall of the Thunderfists, Rannick appeared, and every warrior knew what that meant. The armies clashed in front of the wolf priest. Ragnar took damage, but he still fought and eventually fought Strabjorn. Both of the wolves wounded each other, but eventually the Thunderfist village was no more. Ragnar was on the brink of death, and the Space Wolves brought him back from the dead, and he saw that Strabjorn was still alive and attempted to kill him while he was being healed by the medics, but Rannick intervened. After this, Ragnar's journey to become a Sky Warrior would begin. Ragnar and a new group of young Fenrisians arrived at Rusvik, one of the training camps of the Space Wolves for Aspirants. They met a new Space Wolf whose name was Hakon, and he would be training Ragnar's group of recruits, and he put them in packs. Ragnar was put in a pack with Strabjorn, Sven, Kjell, and Harold. Ragnar was put in charge of the pack, but he still felt hatred towards Strabjorn, but it would lessen as time went on. Ragnar's pack and the other packs trained to their breaking points. Then some of the recruits started to die off from the dangers of Fenris. During a night of hunting, Ragnar's pack was sleeping, with Ragnar keeping watch, and he noticed that a troll was about to take one of his pack mates. Ragnar shouted for his pack to awaken, and they fought the troll off, but with the cost of Harold, who was eaten by the troll. They went back to Rusvik with Harold's corpse and reported it to Hakon, and when Ragnar was about to leave, still saddened with him losing Harold, who he was responsible for, Hakon said that he knows what it's like to lose someone under his command and was sympathetic towards the aspirant. A few months passed, and Ragnar's pack trained until one day they and a few other packs were called to report to Rannick. They were told that they were moving forward with their training, but the priest said that it would be very difficult. Ragnar and his packmates, as well as the other packs, arrived at the Fang, the fortress monastery of the Space Wolves. They walked through the fortress and arrived at the next test, and that was the gates of Mordecai. The test was simple: walk through the portal and pass the test, but it was a bit more complex, with the recruit being tempted by the Chaos Gods. If they passed, they would move on to drink the cup of Wolfen, but if they fell to temptation, they would die. And Ragnar was so close to failing the test due to his hatred for Strabjorn. Then he drank from the cup of Wolfen, which is similar to drinking the blood of Sanguinius, but instead of becoming a vampire, they would become wolf-like. Ragnar and the other recruits drank from the cup, and they all were locked in cells deep in the Fang and started to change into Space Marines. The spirit of the Wolfen grew inside them and gave them an animalistic urge to consume flesh. For a week, they roamed the cells and watched their bodies transform into the Space Wolves. On the seventh day, they were dropped into the wastes of Asaheim, in which they had to find their way back to the Fang. Ragnar encountered a Blackmane, which is a big Fenrisian wolf of legend. He killed it and took its pelt for warmth. A couple days passed, and Ragnar's wolf spirit sensed something hunting him. He sensed that it was human. When he was camping, he fought the Wolfen. When he was dying, it said Ragnar's name, and he knew the voice. It was Kjell, his only true friend in his pack. Ragnar howled after his friend passed into the Underverse, and he arrived at the Fang, in which the Iron Priest and Wolf Priest looked over him. He noticed that some of the recruits came back to the Fang, including Stribbjorn and Sven. After his examination had passed, they became Space Marines and given the rank of Bloodclaw, and began their training and learning of the Imperium and the Space Wolves. They also learned about the enemies in the Imperium, including Chaos. They also trained in different types of environments, which helped them get a better feeling of the planets they would be going to. After some time, Ragnar and his pack, alongside 8 other Bloodclaws and a Space Wolf sergeant, were sent to investigate the disappearance of 2 patrols on Asaheim. They soon found the problem and found out that it was a Chaos force led by the Thousand-Sun sorcerer Maddox. The Space Wolves were overwhelmed, but the sergeant and the remaining Bloodclaws held the line, giving Ragnar's pack time to call for aid due to them being on the ground. During the escape from the caverns, Stribbjorn was injured, and Ragnar stayed behind to help him and send Sven and Nils to go to the surface and call the Fang for reinforcements. Ragnar carried Stribbjorn to the entrance and fought Maddox, and eventually came to the surface with the chapter at the entrance showing that the call was answered. Shortly after the skirmish with Chaos, Ragnar and his pack trained until an inquisitor by the name of Ivan Sternberg arrived at Fenris looking for a piece of an Eldar amulet that the Space Wolves had. The reason he needed that Eldar amulet was because the planet he came from had been assailed by a plague, and the Xenos amulet would be able to help them. But with the Wolves not trusting the Inquisition, Vranik ordered Ragnar to guide them and hopefully teach him something about the Inquisition. Fast forward to them arriving at the infected planet, the Inquisitor and his apprentice, alongside Hakon, Ragnar, Nils, Sven, and Stribbjorn, opened the door to the Black Pyramid to search for a cure for the plague. As they walked, they encountered a message from an Eldari hologram that said do not go further, but they ignored it, and they were shocked to see a great unclean one. Realizing that the pyramid was not a pyramid, but was a prison for a greater demon known as Bachelas, who started to fight the Imperial agents and the Space Marines. Seeing that this battle was unwinnable, the apprentice of the Inquisitor locked herself and sealed the greater demon inside of the pyramid forever. The next mission that Ragnar participated in was on the planet of Garm, which was in the same system as Fenris. Ragnar's claw was assigned to Beric Thunderfist's Great Company. Garm was a holy place of the Space Wolves because it was named after the mightiest of the first company of Space Wolves, and it also had a shrine that had the Spear of Rus. Garm was being attacked by the Thousand Suns and led by none other than Maddox the sorcerer that Ragnar dueled on Fenris. When the two rivals met again, Maddox was attempting to open a portal to the warp and bring Magnus through so he can destroy the Space Wolves. During the duel between Ragnar and the sorcerer, Magnus was about to come through the portal, and with a Spear of Rust in Ragnar's hand, he threw it. The spear hit the demon Primarch, banishing him, but losing the Spear of Rust in the process, and Ragnar was to be punished for this. Most of the Wolf Lords thought that Ragnar should be banished. The rest, including Rogan Grimnar, said that he should not, but to not create a problem, Ragnar was exiled to be a Wolfblade, and he was sent to Terra. A Wolfblade is a space wolf who is a bodyguard to the Navigator House called Belisarius. As Ragnar served, he and the other Wolfblades eliminated threats to the other house, and also prevented an assassination attempt of the house. Then an interesting issue came to them, and it was from the Dark Angels, who were hunting a fallen named Cadmus, but the whole thing was created by Maddox, who wanted to start a war between the Wolves and the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels approached the world under protection of the Wolves, and a battle happened between Beric's Great Company and the Dark Angel Strike Force. They realized that Maddox was behind the trickery, and both chapters united and fought the forces of chaos. Ragnar and his Wolfblades fought and banished Maddox, and he also recovered the Spear of Rust. From that act, he was put into the good graces of the chapter. Soon after that, he became a veteran Wolfguard of Beric Thunderfist, and without having to become a Grey Hunter. He got this honor from killing an orc war boss and his entire retinue. During a campaign against the Chaos Force, Beric died fighting a Chaos champion and forced the Space Wolves to retreat. Ragnar took initiative and took the company and tracked down the champion and killed him, avenging Beric Thunderfist. The company was leaderless, but the replacement was obvious, and that was Ragnar. And he was elected as Wolflord and changed the name of the great company to the Blackmanes, which was a nod to his name. The Blackmanes specialize in drop pod assaults and are used by Logan Grimnar for spearheads in campaigns. In the final days of the 41st millennium, the 13th company of the Space Wolves emerged from the warp, but they were mutated from their gene seed in time in the warp. Immediately, the Wolfen were brought to Fang to be judged. Ulrich the Slayer said that their return was a sign of Liam Russ's return to lead the Sons of Fenris. Ragnar also sided with the High Wolf Priest about saving the Wolfen because he had encountered them before and saw that they still served the Emperor and were not mindless beasts. Logan Grimnar said that the Wolfen were still their brethren and started a great hunt to find the Wolfen and bring them back home and embrace their returned brothers. As Ragnar and his Blackmanes went system to system fighting the Imperium's enemies, they were called to fight an orc war that was led by the war boss Gaskul Thraka. The Blackmanes cornered the orcs and fought them on the plain of Krongar, and it was brutal. The two leaders fought each other and eventually Ragnar won, but was so damaged from the fight he was almost put into a dreadnought. Thankfully, he was saved by Mechanicus' fleet that brought the Rubicon Primaris to the Blackmanes and healed the Wolf Lord. With the Blackmanes being reinforced by the Primaris Marines, they now attack the enemies of the Imperium with renewed vigor. The first lesson we can learn from Ragnar Blackmane is that being headstrong can be good in life. The definition of headstrong is not being easily restrained, impatient of control, advice, or suggestions, and Ragnar used to be very headstrong, but is still somewhat headstrong. Being headstrong can help you overcome a temporary obstacle or an ambitious goal as long as you have the skills and a plan, of course. A couple of pros of being headstrong is determination, commitment, and leadership, and that works well for Ragnar. Ragnar's determination to protect the Imperium and his commitment to the Space Wolves and his leadership to his great company, and that's why he has been successful. But a couple of cons of being headstrong is the inflexibility, conflict, and unreasonableness, and Ragnar has also shown these cons throughout his service. Ragnar's inflexibility has caused an unnecessary amount of casualties and waste of resources on some occasions. From inflexibility comes conflict. And a good example of this was when the Dark Angels and Space Wolves did a joint campaign and chose a champion to duel Ragnar to first blood. Ragnar lost and he got angry and cut the Dark Angels champion's head off, which almost resulted in a chapter versus chapter war, but was stopped by another Space Wolf and a duel to the death would happen next time the Space Wolves and Angels met again. And after conflict, they can become unreasonable, in which Ragnar has done multiple times and has reached a point to where he was exiled from the chapter and served as a Wolfblade. Here are a couple of ways to be headstrong. Set clear goals, and that means define your objectives and create a roadmap to achieve them. Having a clear direction helps you stay focused and determined. Believe in yourself because it will cultivate self-confidence, trust your abilities, and believe that you can overcome challenges. Also stand your ground, and that means being assertive without being aggressive. Express your opinions and needs confidently and don't be swayed by others' opinion if they conflict with your values. The second lesson that we can learn from Ragnar Blackmane is to know when to follow your gut and know when something feels wrong. The Space Wolves have a very keen senses, but Ragnar has a very good sixth sense and knows when a situation feels off when his fellow battle brothers don't sense it. One time, when Ragnar and Sven were hunting a pack of ice fiends, Ragnar felt that something was off. He realized that the ice that he and Sven were standing on was breaking apart, and he told Sven to stop and listen. They were able to move off the ice to a safe place, and then they killed the ice fiends. Due to Ragnar's gut telling him something was wrong, he was able to alert Sven to the issue, and they were able to find ground. Here are some tips on how to listen to your gut and find the issue that caused it. First, take a deep breath and relax your muscles. Then ask yourself, what is my gut saying? And scan the area and find the cause of the issue. When you find it, bring all your senses to the situation so you can focus on it, and doing it will be able to bring your brain into finding solutions. Also, you can tell when something feels wrong when your brain tells you something is wrong, and you can feel warm even though nothing is wrong at first, and you can use the same tips as I explained before to solve the solution. Now we have gotten to the end of the video on the lessons from Ragnar Blackmane. In the next lessons from video, I will be discussing the lesson from Bjorn the Fell-Handed, but that will take some time. To cover that time, I'll be going over the chapter importances of the librarians, techmarines, and apothecaries. Then I will do a different video on the specialties of the chapter. Then hopefully I should be done with Bjorn the Fell-Handed. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and if you think someone will like this content, share it with them. And if you guys are new to the channel and would like to see more, hit the subscribe button and turn on bell notification to be notified when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day. May Leman Ross hunt alongside you. This is Wisdom of Warhammer, signing off.